Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And in this episode, I am continuing my top 20 movies of the 1980s. I am now in the top 10 on my list. I'm going to do number 10 through number 6. And I tell you, looking at this list, this top 10, I had a hard time kind of fitting where I wanted these movies. I've been doing a lot of like last minute changes as I keep looking at it. I keep, oh man, I really like this movie, but I like this movie. Which one do I like more? So I actually had a little bit hard time. I know what movies I like, just putting them in the order is a little bit hard. But at number 10, I'm going to go with a movie called Rain Man. Won Best Picture, 1988. Best Picture, Best Actor for Dustin Hoffman there. Also, of course, Tom Cruise starring in it. Best Director. So a very successful movie. Won a lot of awards. Um, Dustin Hoffman is just amazing as Raymond, being Babbitt, I believe his name is, as this autistic character. Really portrays autism so well. One of my favorite performances of all time. I think Dustin Hoffman's just absolutely amazing here. Really loses himself into this character, and really looks, really plays autistic. Tom Cruise, of course, playing his younger brother in the movie, also very good. Tom Cruise really coming to his own at this point in the late '80s, I think, and into the '90s. Just one of my favorite actors. If you don't know, it's a movie about Tom Cruise's younger brother. His father dies. Well, he doesn't realize he has an older brother. After his father dies, he finds out that he has an older brother who's autistic, named Raymond, who he used to call Rain Man as a kid, because as a kid, he couldn't say Raymond, I guess, or he didn't say it right. And anyway, so he takes his brother, actually, kind of kidnaps him, and travels with him because he wants more money out of his dad's estate. Um, he really just kind of annoyed by his brother, his older autistic brother, and doesn't really like him that much or doesn't care about him that much. But as the movie goes on, they form a bond, and he really form a really great chemistry and very deep friendship, actually. And at the end, he loves his brother and just wants what's best for him. Anyway, so that's what's so great about this movie is the chemistry between Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise's characters, and how he kind of learns to love his brother, and how it's hard when you're artistic to let people in. You're very social awkward, obviously, and so it's also cool to see Dustin Hoffman's character Raymond also accept his brother. It's hard to trust new people and all this. Anyway, so it's a real good, it's a comedy, I would say, movie. A real good feel good, I think, at the end. I think you really feel good about what happens. It's always an enjoyable movie. I like I said, I think, because the comedy. I love some of the quotes of Target sucks. Because Raymond always wants to buy stuff from Target. Target sucks, Raymond, or something like that. Or definitely or definitely gotta watch Whopper. Gotta watch Whopper. That kind of stuff. I love a lot of the lines here. I love Tom Cruise in this era of his life. Starting at this period, he's coming off of like Born on the 4th of July, The Color of Money, Top Gun, and then you got Rain Man, and he's so good at this. He's really good when he plays these really cocky characters who have big egos. He's really good with sarcastic humor, and he's good at yelling and sarcastically, and can be very funny. Tom Cruise at this point, to me, was this great leading man. He's of course very good looking, can play a romantic lead, but also is very funny. It's funny then into the upper '90s into today, he's almost more known as an action star than anything. At this point, he was an action star. He was just a more of a great comedy lead slash drama romantic lead, I would say, at this point in his life. But I mean, he's really good at the once he gets in Mission Impossible. I mean, he's amazing in the Mission Impossible movies and all the stuff he gets to do there. And he's done a lot of action and sci-fi since, but at this point, he was just the lead. Of course, A Few Good Men. I love him in that movie. He kind of Jerry Maguire later on. He's really good at that kind of character. So that's Raymond, number 10. Number 9, It's a movie called The Princess Bride. It came out in 1987. And if Rich Strickler is watching this, I apologize. I know he does not like this movie. He has talked about it many times on his YouTube channel. It's not one for him. And I don't know. I think my parents don't care about this movie either. So it might be a generational thing because I feel like everybody my age loves this movie. Anytime I talk to somebody my age, we all like have a lot of good feelings about this movie, nostalgia. Princess Bride is just this great kind of fairy tale story with action adventure and very funny. Again, I think I like it mostly for the comedy. I think it's a really funny movie. Every time I see it, I laugh so much. Of course, it's this made up story about this character, Robin Wright's character. I'm forgetting their names, Princess, whatever. She's in love with her servant. They fall in love, but then he goes off, and then she has to marry the prince. That's why I call it The Princess Bride. She's kind of forced into it, even though she doesn't want to. Wesley, she wants to marry Wesley, or kind of her stable boy at her house, and it's about him coming back and trying to get her back before she marries the prince. And she then gets kidnapped by a group, and he has to rescue her, and all this. And at the very end, it's not spoiled too much, but at the end, they have to come to the castle during the wedding, and spoil the wedding. And makes friends with some of the people along the way. Especially love Mandy Patinkin as Inigo Montoya. Such a great character. And he gives such a great performance. It's a Spanish sword fighter. The sword fighting scene between the two I always love that scene. It's just a fun scene. And he really should have got nominated for an Oscar, I think. Mandy Patinkin for supporting actor. I think his performance is so good. And he has this great, character background of, his father was killed by the six-fingered man, and he's spent his whole life being an excellent sword fighter so that he can kill the six-fingered man when he meets him one day, and how that all plays out at the end. It's such a great emotional scene. And Andre the Giant is great as the friend who's huge. He's over 7 feet tall and super strong. And I love their chemistry, so good. Montoya and Andre the Giant. Love them together, and of course, and with them too, and then Carrie Elways, who plays Wesley, get together. Those are my favorite scenes in the whole movie, is when those three are together. They are so funny. And some other great characters like Wallace Shawn is absolutely hilarious in his part. Inconceivable, has so many great lines like that. And then you got Billy Crystal comes in and gives a really small but funny performance. As a miracle worker, Max the miracle worker, can have fun storming the castle. It'll be a miracle. He's so good. So many great. I'm just thinking like so many great one-liners in the whole movie. As you wish is a great line, and it was all through it. Yeah, it's such a great, fun story. It's one of my favorites. I always have a fun time with it. So that's The Princess Bride, number 9. Number 8, childhood favorite of mine, it is The Karate Kid. This is Karate Kid and Karate Kid 2, I believe, so this is the Karate Kid part. LaRusso. Of course, I love Miyagi, my favorite character. Karate Kid I loved as a kid. Of course, I loved any action movie. Any movie where people were hitting each other, I would watch as a kid. That was always my thing. Are they hitting each other? I'm watching. Are they shooting at each other? I'm watching. So I remember watching this as a kid, and I love Mr. Miyagi. He's such a cool character. He's like this old dude that just beats anybody up that comes against him. He's a kind of pudgy, small man, but he can beat anybody up. I love that idea. Of course, super wise, teaching LaRusso karate, so he's being bullied at school, and he wants to join a dojo to learn karate to defend himself. But the Cobra Kai dojo has the bullies, and so Miyagi helps him by training him to go to the All Valley tournament and to compete, and so trying to get the bullies off his back, basically. It's such a great story of the guy who doesn't have a father, and Mr. Miyagi, who doesn't have a son, and they form this father-son relationship. It's just really endearing, and it's like more of a friendship, but just a great relationship and chemistry between those two characters. And I just love that part at the end with them. I won't spoil what happens if you don't know. You should know, but I just love what happens at the end there. Yeah, just a great feel-good story, of teenager, having trouble and needing a mentor to help him. I love those kind of stories. Great music. Love the music in this. Iconic scenes, of course, with the crane kick and all that, and the wax on, wax off. Such a great scene. Love that. Miss Miyagi, I'm saying Pat Morita is his name, got nominated for Supporting Actor. So happy for him to get that nomination. He was so good in this role. He's my favorite part of all the Karate Kid movies. Always loved Mr. Miyagi. And also, I should say, Cobra Kai is one of my favorite TV shows on Netflix. Love watching that show and seeing everybody come back, except for Pat Morita, who passed away. But all the other characters are coming back, and getting to see them as adults, with kids of their own, teenagers of their own, going to high school and dealing with the same problems. And I love, I'm forgetting his name now. The bad guy in the film, Johnny. He has such a great character arc on Cobra Kai. I just love the fact that he came back because he was such a good bad guy in this film. But yeah, absolutely love Karate Kid. Really great feel-good story from 1984. So that's my number 8 pick. Number 7 pick, it's a movie I've talked about on this channel before. One of my all-time favorite franchises, I guess you can say, or trilogies, is Back to the Future Part 2. Yeah, I haven't talked about any of the other ones so far on this list. Of course, this is the first one, second movie, first one I've talked about on the list. This has all 3 movies on it, so that's why I show that. So it's Back to the Future Part 2. Came out in 1989, so just at the very end of the 80s. Sequel to a very successful, obviously, movie, Back to the Future, which may come up later on my list. But I just love this. I love the whole trilogy, and I just love the characters, Marty McFly and Doc Brown. Again, such great chemistry between them. It's another, I love, of course, it's sci-fi, it's time travel. I love time travel. It's very, very funny. I love the comedy. It's this adventure comedy sci-fi movie, and I love this one takes you into the future. First one takes you in the past 30 years. This one you're going in the future 30 years, and you can see your kids and then what happens to your kids, and and that's fun to see what they thought the future was going to look like back in the 80s, which was 2015, so we passed the future already. So that's a lot of fun seeing the future. But I love how they go through the different timelines. What's so amazing about this movie is you got 1985, you got 2015, then they go to an alternative 1985, and then they go back to 1955. So there's like 4 different timelines that they are hitting. And of course, if you watch Marvel, it's all about timelines. We probably overdo the timelines nowadays, but at this point, man, that was such a kind of groundbreaking thing, talking about timelines and how doing one thing over here changes what happens over here, and having to fix the timelines. Just a really fun movie because of that, and great conflict. Big stakes. Huge stakes in the movie for the characters. And yeah, just love the series overall, I think. And Back to the Future 2, great movie. So that's my number 6 movie. And so my last movie I'm going to talk about, that was number 7, Back to the Future Part 2. So number 6 movie, the last movie I'm going to talk about in this episode, another really popular franchise, one of my favorites, and it's going to be Star Wars Part 4, The Empire Strikes Back. Of course, I had Star Wars The New Hope. It was in the 70s. I haven't done the 70s yet. So the first one, of course, humongous hit in the 70s, 1977. The second sequel came out 1980, just came out in the beginning of the 80s. How do you come off of a successful, groundbreaking, box office breaking movie like Star Wars? Well, this is how you do it with Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. You just bring a little bit more. Obviously, this is a movie that everybody absolutely loves. It's their favorite Star Wars movie. It's definitely one of my favorites for sure. Again, I might have another movie coming up in the Star Wars, so I won't spoil it too much, but definitely a huge fan of this. Obviously, coming back from the first movie, how it ended, great ending. This one, we get to see the characters now growing more, and I love, of course, Han Solo is one of the greatest characters of all time. Love his chemistry with him and Princess Leia, and the romantic relationships kind of brewing. I think they do a really good job where you really believe into the relationship. Sometimes you can force relationships in these type of movies, but it actually comes off pretty well. I mean, Princess Leia is so beautiful, like and she's got this great sass to her. Love her. And then who could not fall in love with Harrison Ford as Han Solo? I mean, he's just so cool, such a dashing rogue. You know, everybody loves him. And then, of course, and Luke is becoming better with the Force. In the first one, he really doesn't know how to use the Force that much. So it's nice to see him progress in this one. And, of course, we meet one of my favorite characters, Yoda. I love Yoda in this movie. Such a great, idea of a character, this small little puppet who's a great Jedi Master and is training Luke. I love all that. And then, of course, Darth Vader comes back. Darth Vader, one of the great villains of all time. Of course, we have a great reveal. If you don't know, there's a really great reveal in there of Darth Vader, who he is. And then we have a great, really one of the first great lightsaber battle scenes we've seen. The first one, we didn't really get a good lightsaber battle. So I love in this second one, we get a lightsaber battle between Luke and Darth Vader. I love how that begins with the darkness and their lightsabers light up, and we got an old veteran versus a new guy who's really talented and just learning the Force. Anyways, love that fight scene at the end, and how it ends is so great. Of course, leaves you on a cliffhanger. Unlike the other two movies, really kind of are almost movies themselves, were self-contained movies. This one leaves you on a cliffhanger. You wonder what's going to happen next. Yeah, definitely one of the all-time great sci-fi action adventure movies of all time, and I'm a huge fan of the Star Wars trilogy in total. So that's Star Wars episode, I should say 5, The Empire Strikes Back, comes in at number 6 on my list. So that's my 10 through 6, so I just have the top 5 left. And so feel free to comment on what you think about these movies that I've picked in 10 through 6 and what your favorites are. And I'd love to see your list of movies that you liked during this decade. And I just thank you a lot for watching this video, and thank you a lot to all my subscribers. I really appreciate it. So thank you and have a good day.